Hello guys, hope you are doing great. In today's video, we will be talking about whether auto mode is better than manual mode or is manual mode superior than auto mode. And I have seen a lot of people, especially those who are just starting into photography, setting their camera to manual mode. I find it very amusing because when you are just starting in photography, the last thing you want to do is to set your camera in manual mode. My reasons being, since you are not aware as to how a camera functions, as to what different parameters like the aperture, the shutter speed, the ISO do. So my advice to beginner photographers is always to try out camera in auto modes or rather the other semi-automatic modes like the aperture priority or the shutter priority for that matter. So back to the topic, when I see someone struggling to get a decent photo in manual mode, there comes the point, auto mode is much better because it will at least give you a respectable photograph to begin with. But in manual mode, the camera has no function over what the user sets it to. So let's assume for this scenario, I set a ISO which is rather too low and the camera is unable to get sufficient light in to form an image. So what it will do? It will do nothing. The image will come out underexposed or rather it will be completely black. And what you can do with that? You can do nothing. Again, when beginners use manual mode, they are unsure of settings and most of the times they need to resort to processing the image afterwards and fixing those mistakes. But why should one spend time in Photoshop or other softwares to fix mistakes which can be corrected very easily in the first place? To begin with, there is nothing like manual mode is better than the auto mode or auto mode is better than manual mode. It all depends on scenarios. Let me give you an example. So we both are shooting F1 racing. Yes, you are all pumped. I know you like F1 races and you took me along. You have your camera on manual mode, whereas I am a new person to the world of F1 racing and I have no clue as to what will happen, as to what speed, what shutter speed should I set my camera for. So I set my camera to auto mode rather than auto mode. Let's be specific here. I set it to shutter priority mode and set the shutter speed to sufficiently high, that is 1/2000th of a second, and you are in manual mode. So the race begins. The cars are zooming past and we are on our cameras clicking those images. At the end of the day, we go home and download our images on computer. You have good images, but the images are blurry. Why, you may ask? Because you had no idea as to what shutter speed you will require to capture those cars and to freeze the motion of those cars in the first place. Whereas I was somewhat sure as to the cars are really fast and I would require the shutter speed to be fairly high so that the cars in the picture can be frozen. So here I am working in semi-automatic mode of shutter priority, and using the semi-automatic shutter priority mode plus a little bit of my knowledge about F1 racing, I got pretty decent images which are sharp and which are usable. But on the other hand, you know a lot about F1 racing but not about the camera settings, and so you took time to figure it out. By the time you had some really sharp images in your camera, the race was good as over. And so this is the point. If you are shooting some situations which are very fleeting in the nature, it is best to have the camera in semi-automatic mode rather than complete manual mode, because in manual mode we will have to look after shutter speed, aperture, ISO, and we need to get a right balance of all these three elements. And not only that, if we shift location, the lighting will also change, and for this different location we will be required to do different settings on our camera. And it is very easy guys, let me tell you. Even I have been in your place. Even I have got very blurry images because I forgot to change the settings from one location to another. This is a major drawback, or rather you can say a major learning you should take when using manual mode. If the lighting conditions change, you need to be aware of them and you need to change the settings on your camera accordingly. But whereas in semi-automatic mode or automatic mode, the camera will take care of the change in lighting situation all by itself. You need not worry. And so from this point, let's take another scenario. Suppose we are shooting portraits in an indoor studio and we are using studio strobes as our primary lights to light up our model. And in this scenario, let's change the settings now. You are using manual mode and I am using the auto mode. So what do you think? What will be the outcome? I think you will get far more better images than me, because the manual mode you have dialed in a good combination of aperture, shutter speed and ISO, whereas the auto mode will work on the reflecting light, and if I change my angle a little bit, it will also change the meter reading, and in this case I don't want that to happen. But in manual mode you will get far more consistent images in this case, because the studio lights won't change in their power, they will remain constant, and so the images you acquire in this scenario will be much more uniform than mine. So you get the point. If you want to use manual mode, ensure you have lots of time at your hand and the lighting conditions are not changing. In this situation, it is okay to use manual mode, and even if your subject is pretty still, then manual mode will do good. But if you, on the other hand, your subject is moving, the subject is fleeting, the movement is fleeting, in this case you require some help from the camera, and in this case it is best to use the auto mode or the semi-automatic modes in your camera first. Once you get a hang of the light and you are pretty sure, you can dial in those settings in the manual mode and you can get pretty consistent images, even if you are shooting the fleeting images or the fleeting movement. So that's all for today guys. I hope you learnt a lot, and I hope you got enough understanding of when to use auto mode and when to use manual mode. That's all for today guys. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you the next time. Till then, take care.